So let's start off here just talking about, kind of the traditional ways. And, some animals are really testy when it comes to this kind of stuff. They just don't want any part of it. Some of them are what I call get suicidal. I mean, they'll just fight until they really hurt themselves. I've even had them, where they want to come fight you, and it can be a pretty dangerous kind of situation. So, I had when I was a kid, I had raised Chianinas, and them little Chianinas were wild with March hares, and I had even got a lead donkey, and it was time to a lead donkey, and that works. But some of them cattle were smart enough to know that as soon as you're in time from the lead donkey, they take off with you, so you still got the same dilemma. So most of the 4-H shows and stuff, we, are going to be doing that on foot, and all of it's going to be done on foot, so we need to have them trained before we go to town. And this philosophy has worked well, and not just once in a while, but it will work every time. We're gonna preface it though. I'm gonna use basically the same type of groundwork. I didn't put these slides. Okay, we're gonna start there. This should be the first one. So we're gonna drive that steer around. Just get him in a pen and let him have somewhere to travel. Now I will say this, that the wilder the animal, the bigger your pen needs to be. If you're in too small of an area with an animal that's really stirred up, like if you're a stale-born type scenario, they'll just want to fight right away. But if they've got enough room to get away from you, they will travel away. And the wilder they are, the less you're going to have to do at first. This particular steer is real gentle, so that's really he's too close. But you can see he's behind and he's driving. But notice that where that steer's attention went back on him. So to start out with, you're going to just drive him away. That steer's going to be just leaving. So just keep driving him around. Get his feet. Give him somewhere to go. That's an important thing. That animal needs to know that he's got somewhere to go to get freedom. So we're going to try to create that flow. And that's the initial thing that I want. And once they're moving away from you, then we're going to just stay there with them. Now, moving away is going to become more work than that steer wants to do. And that's when they will do what he did right there. You look back at you. And as soon as you get one eye back on you, you'll stop at that moment and do nothing. I'm going to back up to this one. Then they will go and they'll face up to you like that. Now, here's where you need to be a little bit cautious. Read that animal. If that animal is facing you and he's upset, if his ears are quivering, if he's got that look in his eye like I'm getting ready to run over you, do not back up from that animal right there. Run to him. Get him out. Get him going. Otherwise, if you move right there, when he's faced up to you, if you back up, he's gonna come run you over. So you've got to be cautious right there. But when he does get in this position, then that's my grandson. If he'll just walk down that fence and walk towards that steer's hip, he'll walk along here and come in over here. That steer will just stand out in the middle of the pen and just keep facing. And he won't take his eyes off of him. He'll start moving those back feet. That's the beginning of having a steer where you're able to control his feet. I put this one in here to show you. I've got a lariat rope on there. You might turn the lights off. I think you can see a little bit easier. See where I've got it hung on the fence with a little piece of wire there? If you can rope, that's all right. But if you can't rope and you want to be able to catch that calf the first time, this works really well. Just put that loop over there on the fence, and then we've already kind of trained this animal to go away from him, driving him, and you can drive him right into that loop. When he goes through, at that moment, do not pull it tight. Let that rope just sit there loose on it. especially if the steer is a little bit wild. He's probably gonna jump through, and when he feels that rope, he's gonna come alive, he's gonna be running and bucking and carrying on again. Do not try to hold him out there. Just let him go. Let that play out with that rope on his neck. Once it goes through and you can pull it up just snug enough to where it's going to stay on. Now then you've got the rope to use as a tool. You can just start laying that on his back and brushing him with it. You're actually touching that animal with that rope. So it's as if it's replacing your hand. You can't reach him that far because you can't, he's too far away. But you can touch him and pet him with that rope so you can start gentling him. As he's moving away from you and you keep that rope coming down his back, he's going to get more and more comfortable with you as you go. And with that rope on him now, you're still driving him around. Then we're going to go back to doing the same thing. When he looks back in at you, there's a stopping point. Draw that attention back to you. That steer's got a good look in his eye right now. He's comfortable. He's in pretty good shape. Trent's going to drive him there a little bit. And what he's thinking about here now is getting that steer moving and creating that situation where that steer is seeking relief by facing up to Trent. There he's just rolling on, so she's still just driving him away. He's tapping him pretty good with that stick there. Saying, look, if you're going to look away from me, it's going to hurt your behind. So we're making it more difficult for this steer to go away from us than it is to turn and face. Now look, see he made that turn, now he's looking at him out of his right eye. So that would be the time to recognize that. So you've got to be watching this steer, watching his eye the whole time we're doing this. And when you see that eye come back, stop. If you're close enough, like he is right there, that'd be a good time to pet him with that stick. You're rewarding him with a good feeling, rewarding him for looking back like this, and making him comfortable, and also you're building trust and starting to build confidence. Now, once we get them to where they're kind of looking back at you, now you can tighten that rope up a little bit. Not so tight that you're choking, but just enough to where if you're standing on the side, like he is right there, and you pull back. If you're standing on the side, you can actually hold that pressure on until that steer goes forward and moves that hip away from you just a little bit and put some slack in that rope. So you're creating a situation where the pressure that you're applying on the rope, the animal is seeking and finding relief by simply moving away and looking back at you. Does that make sense? It might be hard to see in this picture, but we keep getting that. See? Now he's going to move, Trent's going to move to his right towards his hip. He's not going to get out there in front of him and try to pull him, because if he went out and tried to pull right there, he'd just get met with resistance and steer himself up and wouldn't move. But if he moved to the hip, he's going to get probably that left hind foot to step up in front of the right hind, and he's going to step over, and that steer is going to continue to be finding relief by just moving so he can look at Trent. See there? And he's going to come on by. Now the steer looks like he's walking off there right there, but he's curved. You see his body is shaped up where he's kind of rounded here, which he's thinking about coming around to the left. And you just keep repeating that with that lariat on there until that steer gets gentled down. Now, what's the time process that it takes to get from where we started to here? Typically on most steers, if we're 30 minutes to get to here, that's a long time. Cattle tend to come around to this philosophy quicker than horses do, I think. You just have to be mindful, and I caution you this, but with all caution, because cattle are different. And sometimes when cattle get in an environment where they feel trapped, they want to fight. sooner, you know, and just watch so you don't get hurt. Be ready when you see that look of fight to move it away from it. Don't make a big deal out of it, just move it away and then be done. Move it away and then be done. Pretty soon they'll give up that fight. They'll quit doing that. And then they'll take, even those water ones will take on this demeanor. And the reason that they will is because we haven't trapped them. We haven't forced them to stay tied. We have created a situation where they can seek and find relief by moving their feet. And ultimately, when we get the halter on here a little bit, we're going to want them to lead moving their feet. So we're rewarding that animal for moving his feet here early on. So then, I just get the rope halter and I get it in already ready to go on the head like this, because even a gentle steer that's not used to having his head handled is not going to just stand there likely and let you put that halter on. So you're going to need to be armed with a little bit of a technique to help you get that halter on. Now, if you've got a chute and you can put them in a chute and put the halter on, you can use the same philosophy outside the chute. Just open it up and don't try to hold them. But I'm trying to show you a way here that if you didn't have a chute, you can still do this. So I find it best to put the nose in first and then get one ear or the other through that top part, and then back up a little bit and see, he's got his nose moved around, so I'm going to have to kind of shake it down there until it falls over his nose, and then, you know, we'll get it on. And then you can take the halter off, or the lariat rope off, and with the halter on, I just simply repeat the same process. I don't get out in front of them and try to pull them. I stay on the side. And I might circle for several laps, just moving that hip, pull, watch those back feet move, let him find that relief, reposition myself on the side, pull, steer, find relief, moving those back feet, and pull, and pretty soon, here they come with you.
So it's okay to pull sideways, you just don't want to pull forward?
Yeah. When you're off to the side like that, you've got a leverage advantage, and you can actually, even a little girl could hold, you know, steer this size and help tip him off balance there a little bit. But if you're up to the front, you know, and maybe even at a 45 toward the front, the steer's got the advantage, and he'll take it. He'll just step back and pull. But you can, you know, lead them like this for a little bit. Sometimes it's helpful to have somebody behind driving, but I would prefer that animal learn to move his feet from the pull, from the field on his head, and seek relief in moving his feet rather than looking behind him for somebody to drive. If we've got him looking behind, looking over his shoulder, you're going to almost need somebody to drive him every time you go somewhere. But if we train him from the beginning, he don't know he ain't supposed to lead. So if we give him somewhere to go that feels better to him, pretty soon here he is. He's following around like everything happened. And you know, I know I've kind of went through this fairly quickly, but the time it took me to tell you about this is usually about all the time it takes to get one lead. I've even done this with bulls. Like, I remember one time I first had a 2-year-old bull, weighed about 1,800 pounds, and he never had been hauled a rope. I did the same philosophy in even that bull within just a very short period of time. I was right there and acted like he
So I've never done anything with cattle before. When would I start tying them up?
You can tie him right now. It'll be fine. Because we've taught that animal where he can go get relief. If we tie him up before he knows where he can get relief, he's just going to fight, try to get it back here. But if we show him that moving his feet and coming forward is the relief point, he's smart enough to not, you know. That doesn't mean that they won't pull a little bit. That doesn't mean that there aren't times they're going to try you. But you're armed with position You get on the side, and you can position yourself to have the advantage, and take that advantage and make sure that when you do take hold of them, it gets all the way down to their feet, and there you go.
Okay, so I have grandkids getting ready to be showing for 4-H next year.
Yeah,
When should they start training their calves?
right now.
That's kind of what I thought, but
Yeah. Yeah, as soon as they get them. And a lot of times depending on where you get them, a lot of times the people that actually deal in club calves will have them all broken before you get them. You know, and that's part of the premium that they get, that you've got one that's already handling. But yeah, they need a lot of this. Cattle aren't as responsive as horses. They tend to be dull, lethargic, and they'll, when you pull on that lead rope out front, they'll just tend to just swell up and just hang back there. So the better trained you can get them, the easier it's going to be when they weigh 1,400 pounds and it's hot. They're trying to drag you through. You know, they all got different temperaments, though. You know, sometimes I think it's a good idea with cattle and horses as well. Put them things in the trailer and just go somewhere. Put them in the trailer and just go somewhere. Get them used to being traveling around, because if they spend his whole life at home just eating and not getting work with much, and we go to town with him, now he's going to be scared. He might not know how to handle that fear. And that's when that accidents happen. That's when embarrassment comes. They get away from you in the show ring and end up hurting somebody. Or somebody gets, anything can happen with it. But the more you expose them, the less apt that is to happen.
do you tie them in the trailer when you're home?
I do, yeah. And I like to tie cattle short and high. Tie them where they keep their head up. That's going to help when you're showing them as well. So that's pretty much, all the breeding cattle in a nutshell. So.
Did the principal philosophy change when you're doing that 2-year-old bull, or the same principles?
Same principle. You're always mindful, anytime you're working with a bull, regardless of how old he is, I'm mindful of that attitude more.
Yes, sir.
And if that attitude looks like it's not going to be too good, moving their feet away from you is the solution. If they move your feet, and it don't take much. If you get challenged by one and you do this, you better be ready to get over the fence if they've got fighting on their mind, because they're going to come do it. But if you get challenged there and you do this and that animal moves, now it's a different story altogether. All of them don't retreat when you go to them either. They're all different, and it's very important. I think that's how you learn how to read cattle. I know that's what I do. Calf a lot of cows out and stuff. You get a whole little ball and squall and calf, and the cow will teach you whether she's bluffing or she's serious. And you pretty soon learn to see that look in that eye and know when you need to protect yourself or not. They are a bit more protective of themselves. They have more of a tendency to come fight than horses do. The horses have that same response too, but usually it takes a lot of provoking to get a horse to come fight the person. And I have had them do that. It's not pretty when that happens. They'll just bend their ears and open their mouth and here they come. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have. So I appreciate y'all staying till the end. We're probably the only ones here.